Welcome back to Mountain Connections. Right now we have an exciting new book release for you. Local Utah author from Highland has written a book for entrepreneurs, small business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs. If you're thinking about doing anything around business, you're going to want to read this book. Curtis J. Morley is joining us here in studio. Curtis, thanks for being here.
So good to be here. Thank you for having me on.
I'm looking forward to this conversation and to learning more about your book because it's something that you wished you would have had 20 years ago when you started out.
It's so true. It's a combination of things you won't actually learn in business school. It comes from the School of Hard Knocks, and it's all the lessons I wish I could teach myself 20 years ago when I was starting my first company.
And you've been in the business for many years. You've done many different things. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I started 5 different companies, everything from a full-service media agency to a digital sheet music company, consultancy, an e-learning company, and now my current company, The Entrepreneur's Paradox. What
made you decide to write this book?
It's been a project of passion for so many years. It really is a compilation of all the things that entrepreneurs do wrong. There's 16 principles that every entrepreneur either does wrong or just doesn't do at all. And there's a better way to do business. It's fun because I was in Chicago sitting at Giordano's deep dish pizza, the big fat stuff, and with a friend, and he's an entrepreneur as well. We're asking ourselves, why doesn't everybody start a business? And he jokingly said, the reason I'm an entrepreneur is because I'm too lazy to do things the normal way. And so we laughed, and I thought about that, and I thought, is there a better way to do business? And there really is. There really is a better way to do business that doesn't keep you up all night, that has a family component to it, that actually, gives you a balance in life, but also there's ways that you can accelerate your business into rapid growth. And all you need to do is apply these business principles to them.
There's something that you have said frequently in your speaking and in your book, and it really stood out to me because you mentioned that it's the things that people do to create a product, to create a successful business, that is exactly what will hold them back.
It's true. It's true. Most companies, and because I consult and mentor entrepreneurs, what I find is a very similar pattern, that people get into business because they're expert at something. They may even be the best in the world at whatever they do, and they have this product or this service, and people are like, that's amazing, I've got to have one of those, and you need to start a business. And they say, well, of course I need to start a business. Because I make the best cupcakes in the world, that means I can make a business. But the two actually have nothing to do with each other. And having that expertise and that skill in building the product has actually very little to do with building the company. And one thing that I ask all of the entrepreneurs that I coach, I say, if you're building the product, then who's building the company?
That's definitely something that many entrepreneurs need help with. There's so many skills and tools out there and books that are there to be of assistance, but it can be very overwhelming. And frankly, who has the time when you're running a small business?
It is. And one of the principles I talk about in the book is the wrestling alligators. Is if we wake up every day and we jump in the swamp and we're wrestling alligators, we'll never drain the swamp. And it's the entrepreneur's job as the leader, as the person running the company, to drain the swamp. And what I mean by that is creating the processes, teaching people how to do things so that the business can run independent of the entrepreneur. And that's where the paradox comes in. They're the best in the world at something. They do something so well, but they actually have to stop doing what they're the best in the world at in order for their company to be the best in the world.
You have these great principles that you've learned along your journey, but what else makes your book different from the other books out there that are also helping small businesses?
It's really divided into 2 parts. One is the business principles themselves. The other is all about the entrepreneur. So we talk about things like fear. We talk about imposter syndrome. There's principles in the book that talk about protecting the asset, and the asset is the entrepreneur. And the best gift that any of us could ever have to give is a healthy, happy you. And if we're not taking care of the entrepreneur and we're not breaking through those barriers of fear and imposter syndrome and other things, then it really holds the business back. So that really makes the book unique in the sense that half is about the business principles, half is about the personal entrepreneur principles.
I'm glad you brought up this imposter syndrome, as it really affected you in this book. You had it completely written and then went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and you felt this imposter syndrome. You felt a huge change, which changed your book, which was completely unanticipated.
It was. I'd written 3/4 of the book before climbing Kilimanjaro, and then after, well, they have a saying on the mountain. They say you can't go up without coming down changed, and it's absolutely true. Every person in our whole expedition came back changed, and because of that, I rewrote the book in its entirety because of the similarities of climbing mountains to building businesses.
And because you felt like an imposter at times while climbing the mountain.
Yeah, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I qualified for Boston, I've done Ironman, and when people say, what is climbing Kilimanjaro like? And there's that blank space, there is nothing. There's nothing I can compare climbing Kilimanjaro to. It was so amazing, so hard, and so insightful into life and just lessons about me as a person. And it was amazing.
I want to ask you about the cover, because the triangle has deep meaning to this book as well.
It does. The Penrose Triangle is a paradox. It's an optical illusion that if you look at the little man on the cover of the book, he's going up, or so he thinks. And as long as you're caught in the paradox, you'll go up, but it's actually oftentimes down. And so it's this paradoxical triangle that you have to break out of to be able to really take your business to the next level.
As an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you've done so many things, as we mentioned, but you also have these big goals, such as climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. How do these big goals, how have that related to what you have done in the business world, and how important is it to have those goals, whether they are business related or personal related?
I love this question, because the entrepreneur, without goals, they just kind of wander around in the foothills of the mountain. They never actually start the climb. And so the very first thing I do when I coach or mentor any entrepreneur is we start with goals. And there's actually a very specific formula. I call it the success formula. And it contains 4 parts. The first is how much. So a financial goal. How much money? Like, let's say I want to take my business to $1 million or 10 or 20 or $30 million, whatever that number is. The second piece is by when. So how much by when? And the by when is not just a general, in a couple years. It's actually a very specific date on the calendar. For example, June 1st, 2030. So I want to hit $20 million by June 1st, 2030. And when that happens, your brain actually goes into full-blown problem-solving mode. Then the third step is for what? Are you going to have an acquisition? Are you going to buy a cabin? Are you going to, set up your life so you don't have to worry about finances again? What is that event? And then the very last step, the fourth step, is and why. So by how much, by when, for what, and why. And the why is what's deep inside. The why is, what is your purpose when you hit that goal? Do you want to give back? Do you want to build an orphanage in Mexico? Do you want to climb Kilimanjaro? What is your why? And tapping into that, that's what will get you out of bed in the morning. That's what will drive you beyond what you're doing now.
And this book, it's coming out soon.
Yeah, March 16th, so that's super soon.
Very soon. So where will it be available? How can people find out more about you? And also, you have some big giveaways, and you're also giving back with your book.
Yes, to celebrate the launch of the book, I am giving away a trip to climb Kilimanjaro, all expenses paid. You can come climb the mountain with me, and we're actually going to do training as we climb the mountain. So we'll be doing entrepreneurial training as we go. Like you said, the Unique Foundation is a foundation I'm very passionate about, and a portion of the proceeds of the book go back to the Unique Foundation. For every book sold, we'll be donating back to Unique. And so, yeah, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere books are sold. Yeah, it'd be great to pick it up today.
And what is the best way to connect with you?
go to entrepreneursparadox.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Curtis J. Morley, for joining us today. Exciting to hear about your incredible new book. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
It's going to help many small business owners, entrepreneurs. Really fun concept, great stories. Just really looking forward to digging in and reading it. So thank you for spending time with us here today.
Thank you.
All right, the book is The Entrepreneur's Paradox by Curtis J. Morley. We'll be back with more right after this.